Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the Linners and Woozers show. I am your host, Riccardo Cominelli, and I know it's been quite a bit since we last spoke, but this past weekend, some exciting local Colorado footy just happened, and it was so much fun that I had to go ahead and share it with everybody. It was the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup first round qualifiers, and we had some cross-division battles between the Mountain Premier League sides and the Colorado Premier League side. So go ahead and strap in. This is going to go ahead and be a quick episode. We'll just go ahead and chat about both of the games that happened over the weekend between Boulder United FC and Colorado Rovers, and the Peak 11 FC versus the FC Denver match. Then we're just going to go ahead and dive in and discuss a little bit of my team of the round, my selections. Quick recap of what's ahead, and then answer some of those questions you guys have submitted. So go ahead and strap in and enjoy the show. All right, so before we go ahead and get into the action, I want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to DT Sports TV, just for being able to go ahead and stream these games, allowing me to go ahead and commentate both games over the weekend. And they just make it easy to go ahead and relive every goal and highlight from the weekend. So those videos are still up on the YouTube, and go ahead and give them a follow on the Instagram and Facebook page as well to go ahead and see content throughout the week. We also want to go ahead and give a huge shout out and thank you to Brian Martagon, who was the incredible photographer capturing all of the moments on the pitch throughout the weekends. And you can go ahead and see all of those photos, bringing the drama to life on Instagram. I will go ahead and drop that handle there for you. So let's go ahead and start with the Boulder United FC versus Colorado Rovers. All right, so Boulder, they came out flying right away, starting their 2026 Open Cup campaign. They beat the Rovers, Colorado Rovers, 4-0 on Sunday at 3 p.m. at Mountain Time was kickoff over at Broomfield's Common Park. And wow, Boulder representing the Mountain Premier League. They controlled the game, most of it solely through possession, just tiring out the opposition. They controlled the tempo and had a solid defensive transitions, so it really limited the Rovers with few opportunities playing that direct ball. Most of those players were in their half. So yeah, Rovers, something that I saw from the Mountain Premier League matchup against Switchbacks the previous weekend, coming out with a 1-1 draw there. They're a team that really emphasizes keeping the ball, and that is by not forcing it through long balls, playing it the tiki-taka. There's always a man open for them, and their midfielders, it looks like they have so many who can go ahead and come in and dictate that tempo, plenty of lungs. We spoke with Coach Rojan Shrestha. He emphasized the importance of giving players the experience and fun of competing in multiple competitions. So, and it certainly showed on the pitch. They will be competing in the Mountain Premier League. They have a team in the Colorado Premier League. They're in the U.S. Open Cup qualifiers right now. They're having open tryouts for their indoor semi-pro team. And so quite a few plans for the rest of the year and into the new year. That game, like I said, 4-0. Those goals came from key contributors. Number 20, Andre Arndt. He opened up the scoring with a nice move on the left-hand side, getting past the defender one-on-one byline, and then instead of cutting back to any of the players at the top of the six, just a little dink over the goalkeeper. And then moments later, number 19, George Munoz, captain, showed a lot of grit in the moments leading up to the goal, emphasizing to his team to press the Rovers in their own half when they try to go ahead and start from the goal kick. And a mistake in the back from the Rovers led to a couple of passes for Boulder, and Munoz was through and a nice finish, and he celebrated that goal. It really meant a lot. And not much changed after the whistle. A few changes for the Rovers at the wingers' positions, but Boulder United maintained control throughout. Unlucky own goal came from the Rovers, which I think that solidified just their overall mentality that game. I wouldn't say the 4-0 scoreline really displayed the type of teams, their pedigree, their strength in the past, and what they have planned for the Colorado Premier League this upcoming season. think head coach Eric French has a good solid group of boys that he can go ahead and work with, and now they can solely go ahead and focus on the league. And then finally there at the end of the game, number 22, Aymaro Vargas displayed great individual skill to just go ahead and cut through a defender and then curl it far post. Probably out of the goals on that game, the better one. We did give Andre Arndt the man of the match and player of the week due to the performance versatility. And we'll go ahead and chat a little bit that later on. At the end of the game, number 29, Tomas Tapia, did receive a second yellow for kicking the ball away after being an offside. Maybe a little harsh, but the referee did give that second yellow. They go down to 10 men to close out the match. Wasn't a sweat for Boulder United to go ahead and close out the match, but it's huge that they're going to miss a pivotal player in the attack for the next round, especially with the competition they could be facing. Okay, and so the second first round qualifier, that one had a lot of drama. That was intense, especially in the final moments of the game. Peak 11 just barely squeezing by against FC Denver in overtime, the only game in the first round of qualifiers that went into overtime across the country. They started out pretty good. Peak, they looked comfortable with a 2-goal lead going deep into the second half. I think they had that 2-0 lead for about 81 minutes there. And then FC Denver shocked them with 2 goals in under 5 minutes to push it into extra time. And with the way there were still a handful of minutes for FC Denver with that momentum to go ahead and get a win, but that wasn't the case. In the first half of extra time, an own goal off of a set piece put Denver in the back foot, and Peak 11 just defensively composed themselves for the rest of the match. Just allowed the opposition to possess, try the long ball and split it, but defensively they were able to go ahead and shut it down. Peak 11, coached by Eric Schuler. When I spoke with Keith throughout the game, Keith had a lot to say about his strategy, his style of play, and that, despite they were up 1-0 at the half, they were still going to go ahead and come out and play. He's not a coach that really sits back, and we didn't really see that until the late into the second half of extra time when his team was up 3-2. They came back strongly, Peak 11, after a midweek loss to Indios. They had a lead in that game as well, and Indios came back 4-2. They did rest 10 of the 11 starters. Only number 8, Emilio Mendoza, went ahead and played at the right back position. So let's just go ahead and talk about the goals here. It started after number 17, Alpay Lascano, drew a penalty, quite a harsh tackle from an FC defender. And number 9, Jaime Gutierrez, probably one of the most lethal strikers in the league, just went ahead and stepped up and put that ball into the back of the net. In the second half, Alpay Lascano heavily involved again, getting a header from a free kick, extending that Peak 11 lead. Out of nowhere in the second half, FC Denver put in number 18, Dominic Dinas. If I'm saying that correctly, what a tall figure up top, and immediately made an impact. Pouncing on a loose ball in the box, slotted it past Cesar, Peak 11's goalkeeper, who had a phenomenal game. And then number 7, Albara Mutleg, sparked that dramatic comeback after beating a Peak 11 defender and slotting it into the back of the net. So in overtime, like I mentioned, an own goal by FC Denver gave Peak 11 that lead, and then they went ahead and won the game. So we did go ahead and get a chance to speak with Cesar after the game, informed him he is our man of the match, and just he highlighted the resilience that his team had to go ahead and hold out the game. They did have that scare. They talked it out in those moments in between regular time and extra time, and it just showed that these guys can go ahead and play 120 minutes, and they do want to go ahead and move on to the next round and keep playing in this U.S. Open Cup run. So Peak 11 representing the Mountain Premier League, as well with Boulder United FC. They go ahead and move on to the second round, and the 2 Colorado Premier League teams in this first round qualifiers were eliminated. Okay, so looking ahead, now those 2 go ahead and advance to the second round, where the competition will get a little bit more intense. The local level does get more difficult, believe it or not. There are some U.S. Open Cup heavyweights, Harpos FC and Azteca FC, if you are familiar with them. They're, like I said, they're raising the stakes here for the Colorado. Boulder will need to go ahead and adjust to missing Tomas Tapia, even though they have a very well organized possession style offense. Harpos and Azteca have been doing this for years. So I expect that they met the minimum requirements and that they're going to go ahead and put their heads down and get to work seeing who they will be paired up with. Peak 11 will go ahead and look to go ahead and maintain just their high pressure style game. Hopefully they can go ahead and get a little bit more fit. And like I said, commit players on the bench during these games. Take advantage of the different types of players they have in the attack. I've noticed that they have quite a few wingers that can go ahead and come in late into the game and make a difference. They're not really a team that holds a lot of possession. They do string a couple of passes very well. They do try to be direct. So I do expect them, out of the 4 teams in the next round, to play the most differently. But definitely they can go ahead and go up against these heavyweights like Harpos, Azteca, and Boulder United. If you just in case you forgot, Peak 11 did beat Boulder United over in the summer in the Leagues for Club competition. So some interleague rivalry there. And a little bit of background information on Harpos and Azteca. They will also be representing the Colorado Premier League. Okay, now let's go ahead and dive into the good stuff. The team of the round. This is just me highlighting the best performers. And let me tell you, it was super difficult deciding between all 4 of the teams. There were some standout players. Like I said in this article I posted, Boulder United were the most impressive team over the weekend. But every team had an individual that stood out. So I try to go ahead and put who I thought was strong. And then I also gave 5 substitutes instead of doing a second team and a first team. So let's just go ahead and dive into it. Right away in goal, I chose Boulder United's goalkeeper Brando Bustos. Absolutely big presence in the back. Despite not being super busy, the few chances that Rovers had, and a few of them actually could have leveled the game, even put 2. He came up big, making some key saves, being available with his feet, commanding presence in the box, and keeping that clean sheet, being the only goalkeeper who was able to keep a clean sheet throughout the weekend, just narrowly beating out Cesar Romero Carreon, who actually is on the substitute. So he is the second goalkeeper for the team of the round. Man of the match for the Peak 11 versus FC Denver match. So that's how tight it was. It was very close. For me, it was just slightly over on the eye test for Brando and getting that clean sheet. So moving on to the defense, we'll start with the left back, Andre Arndt for Boulder United FC, who was man of the match for Boulder United's match against Colorado Rovers, and also our player of the round pick. Just a phenomenal, versatile player who started out left back and attacking through left wing as well, and then had to go ahead and transition into center back in the second half. And alongside that center back pairing of Oscar Gonzalez, they were able to just not even give Rovers a chance the last 20 minutes of a game. Keeping possession, swinging it around. And I know a few players also played in the back for Boulder United, and it was very tight because they all played phenomenal. But just Andre's versatility and technical ability for me was my pick. Like I said, for his center back pairing, Oscar Gonzalez, in the last 20 minutes, he makes my team of the week representing Boulder United FC. He captained the team, showed great communication and an option in the back. If you go back and look at the game, you see that a lot of the possession for Boulder United started deep from him, and as well with Jacob T and Andre Arndt. And so they were all heavily involved. Oscar, he just played with a lot of grit there, making sure that clean sheet stayed and prioritized defense overall, despite his team having a 4-0 lead. Center back pairing for the team of the round. It's going to be on the Colorado Rovers, and the only player for the Colorado Rovers, I'm just going to say it now, to make the team of the round, and it's Omar Sanchez, number 19 for the Rovers. Looked like the only player that really showed up to try to go ahead and play the full 90. I know it was very difficult for Rovers, who they faced a lot of the attack, and he was heavily involved defensively, both in the air, on the ground. He tried to get involved in possession as well to try to build out of the back for the Rovers. But overall, for me, standing out just due to the fact that a player who looked like, if you go back and watch the tape, he was committed to try to go ahead and get his team back into the game for the full 90 minutes despite the scoreline. So the only Rovers player. And then moving over to the right back position, our first peak 11 player. My apologies for the mispronunciation here, but it's Brady Drozdowski, phenomenal defender, technical on the ball, fantastic, composed, calm, able to get 2 megs on 2 different forwards for FC Denver, but also just, again, that new center back in today's age, just being able to build out of the back through possession, joining the attack, overwhelming the opposition in numbers in their half, and then controlling the tempo for his defense and positioning. And that really showed for almost 81 minutes for peak 11, and then just, a lack of composure for the team. But he stood out, played the full 120, and enjoyed it. And he did beat out a couple other peak 11 defenders, and I will go ahead and just mention them here on the subs once I get there. Let's get to our midfielders, and I should have clarified this at the beginning. This is a 4-4-2 formation, mostly because I think a lot of the attackers actually overperformed and defenders compared to some midfielders. Out of all the midfielders, this wasn't really that big. They weren't as exciting as the attackers and defenders were, but a couple did stand out. This is going to be a Boulder United FC pairing for the 2 center midfielders. And first, it's going to be Captain George Munoz, getting on the score sheet, organizing his team, captaining that side alongside Oscar, dictating his team's tempo. And it looked like a lot of the time when the attack got into the opposition's half, it touched his feet first or into the final third. And it was just a great support player for some of those attackers that they had. Amaro Vargas, Tomas Tapia, Almutaz Badawi, just having George behind them, a box-to-box captain midfielder, really stood out. And next to him, his counterpart who played the 6th role, allowing him, George, to go box-to-box. It's Grant Brecken, who, like I said, played that 6th role, really showed composure on the ball, dictating a little bit of the tempo himself, but mostly handled the side-to-side ball switches and his defensive outwork. So any of those long balls or quick counterattacks that Rovers tried to go ahead and get started, if they went through the middle of the field, his presence and just shutting that down was fantastic. Just reminiscent of Gattuso in his Milan days. And let's talk about some of these guys in the attack. At right wing, I have Boulder United's Aymaro Vargas, number 22. Absolutely fantastic, technical on the ball, able to beat anybody anywhere on the pitch, and then has a nice shot. His feet were, like I said, just magic, and he deserves my right wing position there. And on the left-hand side, equally as good and dangerous for Peak 11, it's Alpay Lascano. He was heavily involved in both of Peak 11's goals in regular time, drawing that penalty kick. Not only drawing that penalty kick, but I'm pretty sure Keith and I counted up to half a dozen or more fouls that were he drew, just because of that grit, that energy in getting into the opposition's defense and driving at them. And also getting that goal in the second half, just finding himself in a nice position in the box and getting that header. So our right wing and left winger, absolutely lethal for the week. And then let's talk about that striker partnership. So up top, the substitute for FC Denver coming in, Dominic Donis, immediate impact off the bench, getting involved in every attack, every long ball, every set piece. And Keith and I were really asking ourselves, why wasn't this guy starting from the get-go? They did have some great attackers, FC Denver, but the game definitely changed immediately when he came on. Able to go ahead and pair up with his new wingers, with Albarak, who got the equalizer, And let's talk about the other forward now. Jaime Gutierrez for Peak 11. Absolutely played full game there until I think the last few minutes of extra time when he picked up probably a cramping injury, but pressed the whole match and found pocket of spaces in his own half to come get the ball, which allowed his teammates to go ahead and overlap around him, and then wingers like Alpine Zion getting the space in behind. Lethal. A few chances at goal, only that PK spot. So hopefully the season is just about to start. Both the MPL and the second round is coming up. So as he gets more touches in, we know what he can do from inside the box through open play and outside the box just by finding a little bit of space. So I think a great striker partnership. A few other strikers were exciting as well, but these two just really stood out for their team. I would encourage you to just go back, watch the game, and just watch them in the last 25 minutes of the game, seeing how they adapted with tired legs and with Dominic coming in with fresh legs. All right, let's talk about our subs here real quick. As I mentioned, in goal, Cesar Romero for Peak 11. And then joining him in the defense will be FC Denver's Sam McBride, number 13, their center back. This one was kind of difficult because I believe Leopoldo, number 16, was also a really good center back. And between the two, it was very hard, but I liked the athleticism and the aerial battles and challenges that Sam put himself into. So he squeezes into my subs. And then at the left back / right back position, because he did play both, was the energetic Orlando Lopez for Peak 11. One of Keith and I's favorite players, just to see that when FC Denver put on fast wingers, depending on their speed and leg fatigue, he would go left or right back. And that was exciting to go ahead and see. And the centerman, our only other centerman joining us is Peak 11's Jordan Vaillet. A very similar style of play to Boulder United's Grant, that 6 role who controlled the tempo, swung the ball left and right, and made important challenges in the middle of the field. That one was a close call, but congrats on making these subs for the team of the round. And then our last striker here, Boulder United FC's striker, Mutaz Badawi. Although not getting on the score sheet, he is one of the best players in the Mountain Premier League. And we know that on the ball and off the ball, he puts himself in positions where not only helps himself getting to goal, but also helps his teammates. So not a selfish player, one of the more lethal players like Jaime Gutierrez. And that will go ahead and wrap up my team of the round. It was a lot closer than y'all think. And I encourage you to just go ahead and watch the 2 games and then formulate your own opinions and what you thought, and share with me into our social medias your thoughts on the team of the round. And let's go ahead and jump into some of the questions you guys have left me. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into some of the questions you guys have submitted to me on Instagram here. Starting off with, how do you think Boulder United and Peak 11 will do next round? I think they will do fine. I think Boulder United and Peak 11 will go ahead and get on the score sheet and just do just fine. I think they have just as much of a chance up against Azteca and Harpos to beat them and then move on to the next round. Question number 2 here. I see, how can we get more funding for teams? This is a good question here. I know that teams have been working on trying to find sponsors for their teams to go ahead and assist with some of those league fees, travel, and etc. But a little bit of that not only falls on the responsibility, I think, of the staff, but perhaps on the players, just reaching out to family and friends, coworkers, informing them of their game where they can go ahead and see the game, as well as if they have anybody who has a small business here in Colorado that wants to go ahead and grow their clientele and is looking to go ahead and take on a new marketing strategy, and that would be sponsoring a Mountain Premier League team, a Colorado Premier League team, or even paying for an ad on the DT Sports TV YouTube channel. I think that will go ahead and not only help with funding for these teams, but also grow the leagues and just get more eyes from MLS fans here in Colorado who support the Colorado Rapids, USL fans who support the Colorado Switchbacks, and just footy fans who support teams from all over the world who want to take a look here at a team closer to them at home. The games are free so as of right now, so I don't see why, if you want to go ahead and take a look at a U.S. Open Cup game before it gets to where Messi is playing against Seattle Sounders, you can go ahead and take a look and see that there's one on a Sunday nearby you. I see, how can we grow soccer in Colorado? Well, this kind of ties a little bit back to what I just said here on how teams can get funding for their teams. Obviously, there's a little bit of a wheelbarrow here that is rolling, getting the game momentum going in Colorado. I know there's professional women's soccer coming to Colorado, which a lot of fans are excited for, and the stadium is in a favorable location in the Denver metro area, which could go ahead and get more supporters out. There's a pickup soccer group on Instagram that I would encourage y'all to check out, Bare Bones Soccer. They go ahead and meet on the weekends as well as sometimes in the weekdays at different locations for pickup. I've always been a believer that you need to go out there and play. Find yourself a free pickup game once a month, once a week. Get out there, meet some people, play, go get a beer, watch a game with them after the game. Do what you got to do. But not only are these organizations pumping money to try to grow the game, but I think some of it has to be on us fans. Just organizing events, meetups, going to these games, being more committed fans, going that extra step just to show support to the local soccer games as well as to the nearby professional soccer teams. I know they're also struggling to get more fans. And for them, it's a whole different ballpark. But show your interest, show your intent, throw a like to some of these posts that are being posted online. That's just what we can start with, some things that I can brainstorm off of the top of my head here. But great question. Do you guys, or are you guys interested in doing some coverage of the pro indoor season? Oh, yes, we are. We are actually working on drafting some plans, so I can't share much. And hopefully we can go ahead and get involved in the pro indoor soccer scene with Boulder United. So stick around to see. Hopefully we can go ahead and post more information on that. And the DT Sports TV is bringing you exclusive coverage of some of their games. So I'm sure we'll find out sooner than later. Well, all right, guys, that will go ahead and wrap up our discussion on the first round qualifiers for the 2026 Lamar Hunt U.S. Open Cup here in Colorado. A huge congratulations to Boulder United and Peak 11 for advancing, and mad respect to all the teams for putting on a great show. Again, shout out to DT Sports TV for streaming the games and providing highlights and content on social media. And shout out to Brian Martagon for capturing every amazing picture and video. Not only am I thankful and feels awesome to just go back and view those pictures, but I've seen players throughout the league post them on Instagram, flexing some of those photos. So amazing. And then go ahead and stick around. Soon enough, we'll go ahead and be bringing you second round coverage. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and like, subscribe, share. Don't forget to go ahead and check out DT Sports TV. Give me a holler on Instagram, Twitter account, and let's just chat footy. All right. Until next time, my name's Riccardo on the Linners and Woozers show. Bye-bye.